just come.
Join us as we delve into the heart of the Strider series, exploring the intricacies of gameplay and uncovering its lasting influence it wielded on the gaming landscape. Strider, or Strider Hiryu, as known in Japan, started out as a manga comic and was expanded to video games for arcade and home consoles, all under the same title, Strider Hiryu. The series was jointly developed and owned by Capcom and the manga studio Moto Kyaku. And Hiryu himself has remained a popular and influential character in Capcom's history, appearing in so many of their crossover fighting games. The arcade version of Striders was released on March 1989 worldwide. The game's plot loosely follows the manga and is set in the year 2048, and again introduces us to Hiryu, who is an active member of the Striders, and is tasked the most dangerous mission to assassinate Grandmaster Maya, who is the ruler of the entire world. It became one of Capcom's early arcade hits, praised for its innovative gameplay, diverse music, and multilingual voice samples. The game introduced simple yet responsive controls, using an 8-way joystick and 2 buttons, one for attack and one for jump. But yet the players could still execute a variety of acrobatic moves, whether it was a regular vertical jump, a dynamic cartwheel jump, or sliding through obstacles with finesse. Strider's gameplay really showcased the prowess of Hiryu and his plasma sword, known as the Cypher. Players could summon robotic companions, known as options, from a mushroom-like droid to a robot hawk or a saber-toothed robot tiger. These options really did add some extra fun and variety to the gameplay. Strider opened to critical acclaim, particularly for its gameplay, graphics, diverse music, and voice samples. And the arcade game received very positive reviews from fans and critics alike, which led to numerous ports, many which varied in quality. Strider was released for the NES Nintendo Entertainment System exclusively in North America a few months after the arcade version's release. This version was produced alongside the arcade game and follows more closely the plot of Moto Kyaku's tie-in manga. However, unlike the arcade game, Strider for the NES was not as well received due to the notable lack of polish in what seemed to be a quick rush job to translate and release the game. In terms of the gameplay and presentation on the Nintendo Entertainment System, this title is a materially different game from its arcade counterpart, and it does present a much slower and methodical gameplay, which was a drastic difference from the arcade game's more impressive visuals, acrobatics, and speed. An interesting fact is that a Famicom version of the same game was planned for release in Japan, although it faced many delays until it was ultimately cancelled, and it actually never made its way to store shelves in Japan. Despite its flaws, Strider on the NES stood out with its non-linear design and RPG-like features, which differentiated itself from other side-scrollers of the time. It did manage to cultivate its own following on the NES. Although the distinctive approach would never be revisited, this 8-bit game was on the brink of being overshadowed by its much more advanced counterpart on the home front. Sega released Strider for its own Genesis console in 1990, and of all the home versions, the Genesis adaptation is considered the most successful. At the time of the game's release, the Sega Genesis 16-bit system was still in its early life cycle, and Strider was a perfect game to showcase the system's power. It would be the system's first 8-meg cartridge, and the additional storage did allow for a game that might not have been arcade perfect, but it was as close to as console games got back then. This is definitely a must-play game on the Sega Genesis, and I would note to gamers to not judge a book by its odd cover art, as the character displayed really has minimal resemblance to the Strider Hiryu we've all come to love. Strider 2, released originally in 1990 in North America under the title of Journey from Darkness, Strider Returns. However, this release was only available on limited computer platforms, and it was only ported to the Sega Genesis in 1993 by US Gold under license from Capcom. This game really suffers as the animation and hit detection, which were much more choppy, and overall, beyond the gameplay, the graphics lacked the polish introduced in the first game. Overall, I would recommend this title only to be sought out by the true die-hard fans of the series, as this release was definitely rough around the edges. The official sequel to the original Strider and fourth game in the series, released in 1999 for the arcades, and later ported to the PlayStation 1 in the year 2000. Strider 2 was developed as a remake of the original game, both in story and gameplay, employing similar settings and situations, and pitting Hiryu against conceptually similar enemies. This game reintroduced Strider Hiryu and his side-scrolling action platform, but now with polygonal 3D environments. In addition to having all those original moves, like his attacks with his plasma cipher sword, Strider Hiryu has a few new moves as well. You can now double jump and perform powered-up attacks, and the double jumps alone add greatly to the game's already impressive play mechanics. Aside from the new moves and improved character animations, is that the game's backgrounds are compromised in 3D polygonal objects. It's essentially a 2D platforming game with 3D backgrounds, however beautifully rendered to include nice lighting effects, colorful backgrounds, and huge polygonal boss characters. Strider 2's only downfall is that it's pretty short. While it's true that the original wasn't that long either, it really stands out as Strider 2 because the game is not quite as challenging. The bottom line is that Strider 2 for the PlayStation is a must-have game for fans of arcade-style action. While it's on the shorter side, this reimagining of the original game is something I would recommend to all gamers to add to the collection, as its presentation and gameplay still hold up today. In 2014, Strider was released through digital distribution for the PlayStation and Xbox marketplaces and on PC via Steam. This modern revamp comes to us from Double Helix Games, who are also responsible for the successful revival of the Killer Instinct series on modern consoles. This last release is a retelling of the classic Strider story, and the game's basic premise is the same, presenting players the battle between Hiryu and Grandmaster Mayo, without too much more pretext. This game is a fast, fun, and satisfying revival of a series that has spent way too long in inactivity. This was a triumphant return to the video game scene. In the beginning of the game, you can do a little bit more than jump and slash, but by exploring the world and defeating powerful bosses, new techniques become available. From reflecting bullets, throwing knives, and summoning an eagle made of pure energy, these are just some of the powers you can earn, and those powers expand your fighting repertoire in new and interesting ways. From the very outset of your adventure to the decisive final strike, Strider delivers an exhilarating gaming experience. Guiding the nimble Hiryu feels empowering from the get-go, and each acquired upgrade introduces a delightful new approach to confronting your adversaries. Plainly, Strider is a sheer joy to play, uncomplicated yet immensely enjoyable, standing as a splendid resurgence of a timeless video game game. So, fellow gamers, as we eagerly await the dawn of a new Strider era, let us carry these memories of these games in our hearts. The legend of Strider Hiryu is far from over, and hopefully we get some new Strider adventures soon. Thanks for joining me today. Comment, like, and subscribe on what your favorite game or memories were in the series. See you on the flip side.